We going live, Aman? Yes, we are live now. A very, very good afternoon to all you wonderful educators out here. We are back once again from Talk Ed series, the Talking Education series. Hi, my name is Sandeep Gulati. I'm the founder of Universal Mental School. And today we are going to discuss one of the most amazing topics that has been, uh, pondered upon us, had been uh, made a part of our lives, in a very, very drastic way, especially due to the pandemic. We are talking about technology trends. We're talking about the role of artificial intelligence in the current education system. And we have esteemed panelists today. The Talking Education series, the second series of the complete webinar series, is powered by FinanceSphere. We would like to thank FinanceSphere uh, for supporting us in this initiative of ours. We are going to have a couple of more webinars in the coming weeks with FinanceSphere as well. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce the esteemed panelists that we have across India, across the sectors out here. I would like to welcome Dr. Shalini Banerjee, ma'am, who is the principal of Aster Public School, Greater Noida. It is a part of a I think, two or three more schools in Noida and Greater Noida. Ms. Kanchana Mala, who is the vice principal of Vidya Mandir Senior Secondary School, Mylapore, all the way from
Namaste.
Chennai. Uh, Dr. Raman Kumar Jha, who is the vice chancellor for Amity University, Jharkhand. He will be taking care of the higher education role of artificial intelligence and how they are using artificial intelligence in their particular institution. Then we have Dr. Lakshmi Rao, who is the academic director and mentor for Jain Heritage, Cambridge School, a really, really renowned school all the way back in Hyderabad. We have Mr. TJ Gupta, who is the CEO of Bachpan and HPS Group of Schools, I think one of the biggest chains of the country. TJ, sir, it's always a pleasure listening to you and having you on board and at various of our sessions. We welcome you wholeheartedly. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Jaspreet Singh, who is the head of marketing and PR finance here. Uh, Jaspreet Ji, finance fair has been doing some amazing work in the education sector, and they are actually really changing lives for the education sector with a lot of schools and now entering into the higher education space as well. Welcome, Jaspreet Ji, and thank you for supporting us in this initiative of ours. Uh, without further ado, without further ado, we would like to go ahead and I would not like to take a lot of time of the panelists, and we would like to straight away jump onto the topic, and we would like to have the opening remarks on the role of artificial intelligence in the current scenario in the school or higher education segment. We would like to start off with Dr. Sharbari Banerjee, principal of Aster Public School, Greater Noida. Ma'am, please share your opening comments.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for giving me this opportunity. Good afternoon, everybody, all the knowledgeable panelists present here, and good afternoon to everybody who's listening to me. Thank you so much. Now, as far as the importance of AI in education goes, I would very much like to tell you before I start talking about anything on it is that see, AI does not replace a teacher. A teacher's role remains as it is, although AI becomes a support system for the teacher to continue with education in the school. Now, since I am handling a school of almost 4,000 kids in my school, starting from pre nursery to grade 12th, I would say a teacher's role remains as it is. And AI definitely helps the teacher to move ahead with teaching. Now, what is the role of a teacher in school? If we just think of it, a teacher basically is giving the human touch to a student. And today, in today's world, we don't talk about education with respect to academics. It is about a complete life process which takes place starting from pre nursery to grade 12 so that a child is ready to face the world when he moves beyond school, he or she moves beyond school. So, this is where AI gives an opportunity for the teacher to move ahead. Now, how does it do so? It provides so many different channels to the teacher. First thing is, it gives personalized education to the child. It is basically a child gets what he wants or she wants as a platter in front of him or her. For example, I would just like to give you a small example. We had MindSpark running in our school. Now, what was this MindSpark about? It was about tutoring the children with mathematics to bring improvement in their mathematics, right? So, this MindSpark provided each child with personalized knowledge of mathematics. How did it do so? Simply, it was customized according to the need of the child. So when it was customized according to the need of the child would move ahead, and wherever he or she could, perform, they were taken on to the next level. If the child could not perform, then they were just stopped there, and more of work was given to them. And who did it? It was the AI, which helped MindSpark to go ahead with it. Now, I had seen an immense improvement in mathematics in the subject maths for the children starting from grade third. We started with somewhere in grade first, and we continued till grade 11th. So by grade, ninth, 10th, they were well versed with all the basics of mathematics. Similarly, we had for English too. Language also becomes very easy when AI comes, because it gives them a personalized, individualized attention to each and every child. Now, this has access of everybody. Who are they? The parent, the teacher, as well as the student. So, what happens to the teacher? The teacher has ample of time for the child now in school, because because it is otherwise. What happens if a child has to be given personalized time in school? It is not possible for a teacher to give, of a class of 20 to 30 children, to each child giving them 30 minutes or 40 minutes is not possible. Those 40 minutes of the period is distributed amongst the 30 children. So AI comes into the scene and helps and gives the personalized attention to every child, and the teacher is able to give that personal human touch to the child, and bringing and helping the child to grow more. I feel AI has a very, very important role to play, and since my school has gone ahead with it, I have an experience of it, and I think this is something which should continue for all other fields too.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that input. And I really, we have been talking in a lot of seminars. In fact, in all of seminar, technology has. I don't think technology has ever replaced the teacher ever, and I think it
Yes,
is
yes.
only meant to enable and empower the teacher so that she could be, or she or he could be in terms with the current education scenario. Ms. Kansana Mala from Vidya Mandir Senior Secondary School, ma'am, your opening statement.
Okay, I strongly agree with. Good evening, good afternoon, all of you, and thank you for giving this opportunity. So I absolutely agree with ma'am what she said in the beginning. See, teachers, we have lot of responsibilities on our shoulders, right from content delivery, the subject development, and passing on the knowledge to the children, the grading, evaluation process, creating mark sheet. So the intervention of AI is has increased manifold by so many fields. So education field is not an exception for that. But what how it can help in the education field is that it can assist teachers. So we know that in various institutions and schools and colleges, it's been used for grading. I think that's one of the points teachers are not very comfortable. It's time consuming. So if you can give the grading part to AI, so AI does a grading is, and if it's repetitive grading things which we are going to do it, definitely AI can take it up. And now the recent researchers have said that the AI. What AI incorporated systems, they can even grade the text material, course material, not just multiple choice questions. It can even grade the text material thing. And that's a study has done in China, and it has been proved that 92% accuracy is possible with the AI graded and a human graded system. So I think that we can use it. And the work like attendance taking, again we have the facial recognition sensors, and we have where facial recognition is one of thing where we can take the attendance thing easier, timetabling work we can do it. And even the allotment of children, recruitment of children into the schools, if the data is fed to the AI enabled system, that the system itself will understand and see whether the child will fit into the particular system or particular course. So for all those assisting work, I think definitely AI will play a major role. And another field is that in especially in a country like India, we have a very same curriculum for all the students. So that needs to be little taken into consideration. As ma'am was saying, teacher ratio in school will be 1:40, where teacher won't be able to give that individual attention. For that, the personalized learning technique is very, very important. AI is playing a major role in that, where it can give a personalized pathway. So the knowing, understanding the child's strengths, weaknesses, we can frame an individual learning, unique learning path for the child, so that they'll understand where the gap is, the bridging gap, and we can provide that feedback should be given to the teachers. Again, I won't say AI can replace teachers. The feedback from AI enabled systems can be given to the teachers. Teachers can derive or design or devise different strategies according to the child's needs. So that could be done. Another thing is that, again, the children who are having some disabilities, so they are similar medical conditions, but they're not the same. But in a country like India, we put all of them under the same roof and the education is given to them in a very similar manner. But if you have the AI based analysis, we can understand where they have very varied individual learning disabilities they have. But we are actually focused, if we are putting all of them together, we are catering them in the same manner. So if I have the AI based data analysis, we can identify what exactly which cognitive skill the child needs to be developed, the particular child. We can actually look into it with the help of the parenting intervention, not just the teachers. The parenting intervention also very important to go ahead with that. So I say the AI should not master the teachers. We teachers should be able to master AI. It should be able to assist us and not completely replace teachers. Thank you for the opportunity.
So thank you so much, ma'am. I think really, uh, especially for the specially enabled children, AI could really work wonders. And it's high time that we implement it in our particular institution, uh, so that it becomes really important for us to, to cater to all these people. Uh, Next up is Dr. Raman Kumar Jha, who is the Vice Chancellor of Amity University. Welcome to the panel, and we would like to have your views from the higher education perspective, with the with respect to change management, with respect to the artificial intelligence part. Uh, Please, sir.
Thank you very much, Sandeep, and I thank the panelists and welcome them as well. This is a different type of an opportunity for me to interact with principals from schools and try and understand how Indian education system uh, needs AI. Now, we all now understand what is AI. Let me tell you that 77% of our population is using AI. So when we are already using AI in your smartphones, so the children, especially during this COVID period, got used to a way of learning. So it's a new era of a learning methodology, wherein a parent also is not required, a teacher is also not required while learning is taking place. But then, well, there is a plethora of around. Choose what they should not choose becomes an issue or remains an issue. They may go astray here and there. And that is the guideline that we as teachers will have to take on. That's my feel as of now. There are so many advantages about AI that can be listed down and we understand them all. To just say a few, just to make my point here, that it makes everything accessible to everybody. So accessibility has been the issue earlier. In our new education policy, this is done away by more by using AI. So that is very good to happen, because anybody in an extreme corner is available with everything that the world has to offer. So that's one good thing to happen. Second is, as Madam had already, Dr. Banerjee had already pointed out, a personalized learning environment. See, I want to learn while the music is on. Let the computer have the music also on, and I would learn. Now, before I go to the basketball ground, I would like that basketball be taught to me, and I would learn, see somebody sing even without going to the playground. So that's an environment. So anything and everything is possible on computer, including you can think of cooking, embroidery, fashion design, and everything under the sky. So that's another personalized concept. It is adaptive. Now, adapted to that individual need. That's so important. I need something maybe on a bigger platform or a bigger font. I will do that. I love this font or that font, that color or this color. I can simply change it and watch it that way. So there are movies, scientific movies, which have made AI being projected as a danger. Now, if that was to happen, by now that would have happened. It is not a danger, provided we are using it to the extent education requires. And what is education? Who knows better than the principles available here? So what is education is an assimilation of exchange of information that the teacher has had all the years in his experience, and the student is waiting to listen to him. But then many a times the teacher is not a good teacher. Now there comes an option for the student. He goes away and learns from anywhere. So tailor-made environment is available. You can also see there are tasks which are repetitive, like taking attendance, giving marks. So if you have the text, the testing an individual has been an issue all this time. Many feel that it has to be subjective only. I personally feel let it be no test at all. Let the person be tested by the employer. So let the employer essentially test whether the person is fit for me for this particular job or no. So teach him as much of a thing as possible without any pressure. Give him all the environment that he requires and loves to work with. The team building, of course, will suffer when you don't have an offline class. There are major drawbacks as well. So the efficiency of the person would increase. There is no doubt on it. Now, with this increased efficiency will also come opportunities. See, while I'm say just painting, and I can paint online now. So when I'm painting, I see that the painting by so and so done that at that point of time did not have this particular thing. Can I modify that painting in this particular? So there comes a creativity as well. So you are giving something which was not earlier possible with human interference. So when now is the time when the human beings are getting replaced by this, and this intelligence is what we call as the artificial intelligence. The other thing, there are tutors available online, and that can be done. There are the individual who is a slow learner. Now we'll have all the opportunity to go back to the text time and again. Let him go back. Now, there are contents which are video, which are audio, which are or text also, which are contents that you can have. You can download on your small laptop, or maybe there is a device which you can download all the stories and everything across the globe. Now, there is another thing. Supposingly, a set of students is left to an environment. A teacher can observe him from a distance. So you can actually find out who has learned how much. So and the individual can also actually identify what is his problem. So he can come to the teacher, and teacher is also trying to see whether this particular student has learned to the content which was to be delivered. So if it is monitored we have reached a stage wherein data mining or the technical techniques which are already available with artificial intelligence, there are smart data minings available. So you can have information from this behavioral pattern of student can be studied. I did a little bit of research during this time, and I am very certain that the student choosing a career is not based on their inner quality or innate essence where he can be actually performing at the best. What happens is we are going by the bhedcha. So when we see that there are so many people studying this, we only go for that. Whether we get a job or not get a job, or whether you are excelling there or no, is not the issue. Now we have done trying to do essentially, not still done. We have made a model where artificial intelligence is going to be used to test that individual to guide him to take a job or take a career. let me not say job, career. So career is a bigger word wherein he will be happy, he will be satisfied, he'll be rather doing the work without getting salary also. That's the passion that he has in that direction. So can we give a matching, do this matching? This matching is done beautifully well by studying a child across different skills, the interest, the value system. You can take personality, you can take, there are exceptional students, gifted students. So matching all these, if you give it to the artificial intelligence machine, it'll come out with a career option that these careers are fit for him. So he can be given that passport, career passport, go with it, and then enjoy the way and the journey of life. So that's the way it's going to affect the whole economy. Somebody said that I have to speak on higher education. Higher education is at the receiver end from the schools. So what you give, we get.
Yes.
So it is not that higher education will have a different artificial intelligence focus. No, focus is on learning. And it is a free environment to be given to every child the way he wants it or the way he wants to pursue his career. So that's how it is. And the big giants like Microsoft, Amazon, if you have heard of it, Microsoft has come up with a platform which is Microsoft Cognitive Services, Amazon Lex, and then you have heard of Alexa, the TensorFlow by Google, and then IBM Watson. These are the platforms which are already available online for anybody to take on projects based on AI. So the whole world is now combining together to really solve the problem intelligently, efficiently, timely, with the whole comprehensive point of view in front of us, with the child in focus, with his future in focus, and with the society what it requires. So this is the best time that we could have thought in the world ever alive. And we are lucky that we are seeing this go. And if it is utilized well, it will be a good time to come, except that we should be out of the COVID period. Thank you very much for this. I'll be coming back on any other thing as well. If you want.
Sure, sir. And I think you raised some really, really good points, Dr. Raman, regarding how, especially the benefit of artificial intelligence and how it could really help in the accessibility of the education per se as well. Moving on, I would like to invite Dr. Lakshmi Rao, who is the Academic Director and Mentor for Jain Heritage Academy School. Ma'am, your opening remarks on the same.
Yeah.
How are you perceiving artificial intelligence?
Thank you very much, Mr. Sandeep. And then good afternoon, all of you. As already all of them have spoken most of the points, but let me just tell you that this artificial intelligence has to be accepted now, and because it is the in thing now, and that is the future of learning. As Madam Banerjee rightly said that yes, it will not be replacing the human teachers, but at the same time it's going to make them very effective and very efficient as well, in order to understand the learners interests and their levels, their learning gaps and all. Because sometimes, especially in Indian scenario, what is happening is when the class is having 40 or 45 students, then definitely it becomes tough for a human teacher to analyze each and every child's requirements and their needs, and then the style of learning and the pace of learning and the level of learning. And because of which, personally, she may be a good teacher, but she's unable to really, tap the talents of every child and reach out every child and then make minimum level of learning happen. So when we have to really focus on minimum level of learning happen, and then when we talk about equity, in connection to NEP 2020 I'm talking about, then obviously we need to depend on this kind of support. AI is a support system definitely, which is going to really enhance the outcomes of learnings of all the children. And then we know that, yes, there are three areas that we need. We all know that AI is in what way it is going to really affect the education system. One is, of course, personalized learning ladder. It's going to really create a scaffolding system to each and every child based on the interest of the child, level of learning of the child, style of learning of the child, the brain preferences, and lot many things. And the child can, it's like the child can choose anything that he likes. Then the moment the child has a choice to choose the subject and the content, definitely the learning would be owned by the child. So he takes the onus of his own learning, and the self learning skills will be developed. That's one thing. And with AI we can also bring in the difficult concepts, whether it is in mathematics or in science, through gamification. So this gamification will definitely bring in lot of energy into the learning and 100% engagement in the learning process of the child, because the child will be getting instant gratification the moment the child wins that particular game. And that is one part of it. And this gamification also brings in a constructive feedback. It gives a constructive feedback to the child, and there will, without any embarrassment. Obviously he is the only one who's there on the screen, and he is playing all alone. So even if he goes wrong, he doesn't mind if somebody is giving a constructive feedback to him, and that way he will be able to learn. If it happens in a group of 10 or 15 or 40, then that may bring in a little bit of embarrassment to the child, and that may hamper the growth and the development of the child. That may impact the personality of the child. But this gamification definitely strengthens the concepts and then enhances the learning level of the child. That's how the outcome based learning would definitely happen. And of course with AI now, speech text technique is really bringing a lot of changes in the education system. If the child is unable to understand the vocabulary that the teacher is using, and if the child is unable to understand the level of teacher, then this AI will definitely simplify the language, and then it will be able to release that content which is suitable to the child. So that way the child will be able to really learn, and once the comprehension level of the child is clear, then he will be able to achieve any kind of a level at all. That's how the self-confidence of the child is also enhanced, and I really appreciate. And so, of course, see, now there are certain things that we are already using as educators, the learning management platforms and all we are using, LMCs and all we are using, LMS, sorry. But at the same time, if it is supported and empowered with AI, what will happen is the learning gaps, the small learning gaps will be covered, and then that can be stopped. Whatever gaps are there, that can be stopped, and we can bridge the gap between these things, and we will enhance the learning. And as one of the panelists said, that yes, now that we can also see their and observe their feelings and expressions, then we will also understand the interest of the child also. All these things will definitely help the child when we are calling it as a child-centric learning. Definitely this artificial intelligence would definitely help the children to learn. And I feel this is a great model that is coming up in pandemic. So I really thank pandemic, because a new model of education has evolved during this time. Otherwise, prior to this, from 1950 onwards, people are working on AI, but there was a hesitance. Then there are various factors that has brought that hesitance in the human beings, but now we have no other choice. That is the reason I think we all started looking towards the AI and the technology integration, which will definitely help the child out. And I'm very, very happy for this particular situation, because everybody is focusing on the child learning, which is required now, because they are the future of the country. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, ma'am. I so totally agree with you, because there was a time where I would like to draw a parallel here, where there was a time where our nationalized banks were forced to have computers in their lives. So moving on was a very, very difficult challenge. They thought that their jobs would be lost and everything would happen with them, all the bad things would happen to them. But eventually it made banking really, really easy. Uh, and hopefully, I think, by the pace that the education sector had adopted the technology, especially within it has taken a leap of 10, 15 years. I think, if the normal situation would have happened, we would have come to this level, maybe, 10 years, 15 years down the line, but it has happened overnight. And I think a really exciting time for a lot of educators, for all the students had happened. Moving on, I would like to now ask Mr. TJ Gupta, who is the CEO of Bachpan and AHPS Group of Schools, to join in. So I'm sure most of them have covered a lot of points that you would have to cover, because I am aware that you do all of those factors in your schools: personalized learning, gamification. All of these things are basically made in your school for your students. I would like to understand from the perspective of, there's such a large institution, so many numbers, how management factor, if you could throw some light on it, how management of all of these schools are helping you with, or how AI is helping you with this particular segment of the school, because you have one of the largest chains of schools across India.
Thank you, Sandeep. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be among so many educators. Technically, I'm not an educator. I'm an entrepreneur. So, with respect to all the teachers, they are doing great, brilliant work. And with respect to Banerjee ma'am, credit card can't replace the cash. So again, there is no replacement of teachers, no replacement of physical school, and no replacement of that fun and joy which, like, I miss my school days. Same way, I don't know, my daughters are missing their school days. So of course, a physical thing can't be replaced. So of course, an AI robot can't be a teacher. So many apps we have also made, but our app cannot replace a physical teacher. But yes, a teacher with an AI touch can definitely bring tremendous kind of changes in the school. Of course, when you are helping hand, we are more of a play school. So earlier when we used to run play schools, there was only one teacher in a classroom. Then after 4 5 years, model changed. Then we thought, like, there might we need one maid and one teacher in a classroom. Again, after 4 5 years, we realized that we need a junior teacher in the classroom. I think with the evolvement of AI, some manpower can be distributed accordingly in every classroom. I'm not taking it on a broader level because we are discussing it on that way. I think AI evolved in what I know in 1955 somewhere in US. India, we are pretty active last 5 7 years. We are pretty active with that, and I think if we go by three principles of AI, first, which is learning, second is self correction, and third is reasoning. If all these three principles are calibrated accordingly, and if all these three principles are uh, get together, I think most of the act in terms of education would be there. Talking about learning, definitely we can acquire and process the new experiences which can be passed on to the student. New kind of behavior models can be created for schools. Self correction, of course, is most important. I think the algorithm to ensure the accurate result can be obtained with AI. Ma'am has already explained that. Yes, resulting or in terms of examination, in terms of things. I'll come on to a practical solution also. And again, the reasoning part, which I feel is most weakest thing in our Indian student. I think that reasoning part can definitely be a big boost in terms of AI. I'll go back with an example of Sandeep last maybe it's almost like 8 9 years. One academy came to us and asked, like, we can teach a student football or cricket without any coach. For me, it was a new thing. How without any coach you can teach? So they said we have developed an app and that can check the kick score, it can check the back score, how the child is going to flip. So I asked simple things, I want to see a demo. Are you running at any of the school? He said, okay, you need to travel to Bilaspur, come to this school, and I'll show you how we are using it. I went to that school, just took 2 days about that, how they are using it. And believe me, the results were almost 75% perfect. When we discussed with principal and with teachers, they said we didn't expect so much of improvement, and now our school is holding most of the trophies in terms of football with this app. Soon we implemented in 2 or 3 schools of us. We got little bit successful. Otherwise, the problem was that that institute or that person ran away to US, got some big project, and then it didn't went over. But otherwise, it was a very good concept. If somebody of that level can be implemented, I'm not saying that you place a coach, but if a coach, that app can be used or that AI can come together, I think it can do the wonderful. So I think over to you. We can take the discussion forward.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for your input, sir. And fact, we totally support the fact that a lot of other things, a lot of applications had already been developed. You know, uh, and I had a privilege of knowing few companies, working with few companies uh, who are into tech and doing something really really amazing. Uh, Now, with one of them is definitely finance and Mr. Jaspreet Singh ji, who's the head of marketing and PR finance here, is one of the experts who would know that how technology is trending, and because he's keeping a really close eye on how technology is trending in the education sector and how they are helping education institutions. So definitely your opening statements on the AI, and then we quickly move on to a lot of questions that would take us in depth in all of the discussion points that we already have. Over to you, Jaspreet. So you're on mute. If you can unmute yourself.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. It was a really enlightening half an hour that I've heard so many comments and such insights. Specifically, Tejas has mentioned about that application which teaches football. That's such an eye-opening insight to me personally, because I could never have thought that somebody with an app can teach football. But I think thank you, Tejas sir, for that insight. And coming back to the topic, which is AI in education sector, uh, uh, working with more than 7,500 institutes, I can say that we have access. FinanceSphere has access to more than 7,500 institutes and more than 10 million students. So we are in the business of interacting with educators and education providers and learning seekers. And from that experience, Sandeep ji, what I'm coming at is that when it comes to learning has two parts to it. One is institutionalized learning and another one is a non-institutionalized learning. And AI has impact on both these aspects, and across the spectrum, both in depth and in breadth. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, when you come to an institutionalized learning, the first thing that you talk about is a curriculum-based learning, where where a teacher has to teach the students the curriculum which has been agreed by the institutes. In that, AI helps by understanding whether the child is learning correctly or not, by curating content, catering to special needs child, you know all those things AI can help in. There is another aspect which is a non-curriculum based learning, where a student can learn, for example, in the current pandemic times, when the students are not coming to the institutes physically, right? A teacher is definitely supposed to, or is required to keep a tab on non-curriculum based learning also. For example, if a child is not feeling well, or if a child is feeling bewildered, or lost. I think Kanchana ma'am mentioned about facial recognition, where she said, facial recognition can be used to monitor child's health. It can also be used to monitor proctoring, for example, where is the child looking, whether he is looking at. So AI can be a boon in that area also. Another aspect where AI can help in during these pandemic times is social engagement, because at this stage in time, when child or even senior students are not interacting with each other, gamification can be used for as an example for social learning, where teams can be built and games can be played within the spectrum of schools institutionalized learning. Another aspect of AI and another impact of AI is in the administrative tasks of the institutes. While the teacher's role expands more and more, and it goes beyond teaching the students about the subject, AI can take care of things like grading, as everyone has mentioned. It can take care of things like proctoring. It can take care of things like catering or assisting the teacher in terms of fine tuning the courses as per the needs of the children, and equal to one reaching out to the students in terms of the courses. That's something that AI has a far-reaching impact in terms of institutionalized learning. There is another aspect which I would like to bring about, is the administrative aspect, where somebody mentioned about learning management system being implemented in their institutes. That also, for example, we also provide learning management institutes, learning management solutions, wherein if we feel that as a class has the teacher to student ratio is high, our solutions provide answers to situations like you need to either change the goal, or you need to provide certain intervention in terms of administration so that the learning can be proper, right? So there is another aspect of administrative tasks where AI can be really helpful. When it comes to non-institutionalized learning, Sandeep ji, there is also there is a lot of intervention in the AI sector. For example, content curation, institutes like Byju's, institutes like Coursera's, they are primarily driven by what you are suggesting in terms of learning. Professor Raman mentioned that career choosing can also be one of the AI driven aspects. So I think these are really far reaching and great impact of AI. One last comment that I will try to make, having been in the technology space for a very long, more than 11 years now, the research that has been going on in the AI space is primarily divided in human aided AI. A non-human aided research is still, I think, hundreds of years away, where we start talking about AI replacing teachers and humans. What will definitely happen is a redistribution of human skill set across the spectrum, as TJ sir mentioned, that a senior teacher can be replaced by a junior teacher, but definitely a senior teacher will be required to make sure that the junior teachers are performing correctly. So I think that's my take on how AI is affecting and will affect the educational ecosystem in the country. Thank you, Sandeep ji.
Thank you so much, Jaspreet sir, for those amazing comments. And I think we really we are actually facing the issues where a student is maybe depressed because of the pandemic. AI possibly can definitely help them. A teacher can possibly assess what's going on with the students, because for the last 2 years they're not able to step out of the house. They're not able to play. They're not able to meet their friends. uh, one of the major issues is keeping in check those emotions as well for the students, because what will happen is eventually the pandemic will end, or even if the pandemic does not end, we'll have to learn to survive with it. And once that happens, once the student is back in the school, you cannot imagine the kind of withdrawal symptoms that the students will have. You, you cannot imagine the kind of withdrawal symptoms we will have once we are asked to go to the offices regularly. So it is actually the need of the hour that the AI has gets implemented, gets acknowledged, and gets practiced on a very useful level. I mean, it should not just be a part of a system that has to be done. It's not should be there for the namesake, but it has to be learned. It has to be incorporated. Now we will be moving on to that phase of our conversation where we'll be picking up on, most of the topics that we wanted to cover has been covered broadly. Now we would like to have a further deep information on various aspects that we have just discussed on how basically we would do it on a very very dedicated level, so that we can our audiences, our people who are listening to us can actually learn from the system and go in depth in terms of implementation of artificial intelligence. So moving on, the first question is, how does artificial intelligence is helping in the streamlining of the education system? I would like to ask Dr. Sharbari ma'am again this question. How does artificial intelligence is helping streamlining the education system in your school, ma'am? And
Yes.
what is exactly that you're doing so that we could learn
Yes,
all from it and implement it in our school?
Yes, when we talk about streamlining education, we usually focus upon our children more, right? Now, when we are talking about, we've already had a lot of discussions as to how do we empower our children. But when it comes to teaching, our teachers too need to be empowered. Okay, I think one small point we missed out in the previous discussions, because I've heard everybody very intently, and most of the things have been discussed. But one small thing, our teachers, as far as knowledge is concerned, because a teacher, needs to know before a teacher delivers. And nowadays, it is not just about a teacher. It is about a teacher being a mentor, a facilitator, a felicitator. All these words we add on when we talk about a teacher. So, a library. A school has access to a single library, right? And when a teacher wants to empower herself, she has the access to that library only. But with the help of AI, we can connect different libraries. Because I'll just like to give you an example. In fact, I'm in touch with many people so that I could bring out a library. Like I studied in BHU, right, in Banaras Hindu University. Most of my higher studies have been done there. So when I was in that organization, there was a central library there, which has we had access to a wonderful set of books, which I've never come across ever in any other library, right? So I'm talking about when we restrict ourselves to the country, right? Now, I have been speaking to people so that my teachers can get access to the online library with the help of AI. It's not just about the BHU library. If the teachers could get access to other, especially teachers taking higher classes, who need to know a lot before they deliver. Now, when we are talking about the pandemic and streamlining education with respect to pandemic, yes, thanks to the pandemic, that there are so many things open to us now, and we are able to implement so much more than what we had otherwise thought of before prior to pandemic. We never thought on those lines, though Mindspark and all we had prior to pandemic itself, which has a lot of AI into it. Okay, but when we talk about AI, it again, I focus a lot upon personalized education for the children, just as much as personalized education for our teachers. Now, what NEP nowadays has come up with is group. You train your children to be in a group and train them in a way that they can face the world as a team. Because children nowadays are not very emotionally intelligent, and they need that amount of emotional intelligence to face the world ahead. And for all that, AI is being of a lot of help. Just as one of our panelists, esteemed panelists had mentioned also, that we can gauge the emotion of a child with the help of facial expression. So a teacher, when she's open to this, she's able to monitor the group of 20 or 30 children in front of her, even though she is not physically connected with the children under the current scenario. So when we are able to do this, a teacher is able to separate or distribute the children into different groups, as to happy children, as to children who need to maybe be happier, or to children who might not have a sufficient amount of exposure at home to make them, to bring them abreast, or to bring them up to a level. So AI can be of tremendous help here also, because this is something very new, and I have come across this in certain other schools also, where we are all trying to work together in a group. So another very important thing is, critical thinking and problem solving abilities of a child can be improved not only with human touch. Of course, human touch is required. I definitely agree with it. Emotional intelligence can be built up in a child more with human touch, but problem solving abilities can be catered to with the help of AI, and that is a very, very important point, because a child cannot be creative unless a child can improve upon his or her problem solving abilities. So to bring about creativity in the child, AI can be of great help again here. So streamlining education with the help of all these things, bringing together, allowing AI to assist the teachers in the way that problem solving abilities, critical thinking abilities, and to make the child creative, which is very, very necessary. And the ultimate goal of CBSE as well as NEP right now is to make them as much creative as possible, to make them confident, to have more self-esteem within them, and to face the world at large. We don't restrict ourselves to a country. We are talking about the whole world at large whenever we talk about even corporates nowadays. So, whenever AI can bring a universal versatility to the entire thing, People at different corners of the world can be connected with the help of AI. Children get more of exposure. A child sitting somewhere here in the country will get the exposure what somebody else may be getting in maybe a more developed country elsewhere in the world. So, all these things could be brought together and education could be streamlined accordingly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And in fact, you're so totally right, wherein different aspects of the education sector, of all, especially the schools as well, are now being addressed to those issues which
Yes.
were not addressed earlier, are now coming in light and now coming forward towards, getting addressed and getting a resolution on. Uh, that moving on to the next question is, uh, we've all talked about, AI can help in personalized education, and we have taken examples of Byju's, we have taken examples of Coursera, UniApply, and various other platforms that are offering, all of these learning solutions. I would like to know more about how exactly, in your particular school, Kanchana ma'am, is helping in rendering the personalized learning. How are you using, in your school, uh, you know, the artificial intelligence for the personalized learning? So we've understood that on a broader perspective, but how exactly you're doing it so that you could set an example and we can learn from it, or we can, seek advice on how we should actually move forward with it. Ma'am, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So, personalized learning is very important. We collect the data what we receive. So, it's based on the data of the previous historical data of the child. So, how the child has performed over the years, his performance in the homework or the test scores. So, based on that, so analysis will get the feedback. So, based on the feedback, we'll be able to attend the individual child. So, what is the best strategy for the child to be used? And what is a gap the child has got, or what are the measures we need to give him to improve upon his the whatever he is lacking, and making equal to the others, so cope up with the present curriculum. And again, we have based on this feedback, we have some remedial measures for the lower classes, not for the senior classes. Senior class, we don't have choice, we have to go with the curriculum according to the NCRT. The lower classes, we slightly frame the individualized teaching process for the children. So definitely we'll find a drastic change after that. We get the feedback from the AI based analysis. The based on that, if we give them address to the child, there's a drastic improvement in the child, and when it comes to the high school level, he'll be on par with other children. And that's one thing. And the other thing which I want to tell you is that, like, we'll be able to identify the children who are really maybe in the verge of failing or dropouts. So dropouts not the common scenario in the most of the schools, but still I think using AI intervention we can easily identify, especially in the rural areas, the number of dropouts, probable dropouts, not even dropouts, the probable dropouts. And I think in recently in Andhra Pradesh also, the government, they had done a survey to identify the dropout, the probable dropouts, and they came up with some number in thousands. And the government immediately took some measures to identify, they identified what reasons for the dropouts in thousands, and they've taken some methods to rectify it also. So that way intervention of AI is extremely good, and it makes a global classroom possible. So some of our students also, they go attend the classes, global classrooms, and they come back and give us a feedback to the whole class. We will ask them to share the experience in the classes, and we teachers also would love to entertain other teachers to go for the programs and come back and say the feedback to the other teachers, which will enhance, as ma'am was saying, Mrs. Banerjee was saying, it's teachers, we need to be good at content delivery and updating ourselves, because we are talking to the youngsters. And I think we have to accept the fact we need to learn from them also. It is not one way transaction as we had earlier. It's absolutely a two-way transaction, so we should be open. So if we need to be open and we need to have a proper connect with them, we need to update ourselves with the present scenario. And I think AI is one of them. So we teachers, we're all learning more about that, and we are attending webinars, we are going and exchanging our ideas in the various platforms, and coming back and giving the feedback to the children as well as with our fellow colleagues.
Absolutely, ma'am, and so totally agree to to how the management of dropouts can be taken care of. Uh, Moving on, sir, I would like to ask Dr. Raman Kumar, sir. You know, one easy factor for the school education is that all the students that are within the vicinity of the school, they are within the a radius of 2 to 3 kilometers within their particular school, and they are able to monitor, what's happening in the schools, and it is a relatively easier factor for the schools to cater to the students. I would like to know how an institution like Amity, which attracts students across the country, across the state, and in fact, you would have a lot of foreign students as well. How are you using artificial intelligence in monitoring the candidate activity, especially with the university? And what are the measures that you're taking? And what is it that you would like to improve on so that some sort of a solution could come in front?
It's a big question that you have put. Let me begin by saying that Amity was already IT savvy even before the COVID, which meant that all our administrative decisions, financial transactions, the admission processes, the curriculum syllabi being uploaded, the meetings and minutes of the meeting being uploaded, of the Board of Studies, Academic Council, and all this. And it is being monitored from Noida, which is our headquarters, without much of interference from human element. That means on a daily basis, every teacher, every student is understanding as to what is he supposed to do after the class is over. He has to say, okay, that I attended this class. The teacher has to say, these were the people who were attending. Even online, we were able to monitor. Now, these are already available, and these were available. Now, as far as AI is concerned, we are already having a specialization in artificial intelligence in the computer engineering students. Now, once we have framed a set of people who are specialized in AI. So it is from there, and I'm also part of that particular group. I would rather like to understand what is the capacity to which AI today has developed. If we understand that, we would understand that these are all problems which are solvable as on date. So let me focus on giving you a broad outline of available platforms, the four which I mentioned in my first part of speech. The first one is the Microsoft Cognitive Services. Now, when you get onto this particular platform, this is an intelligent API which are developing or trying to give the developer the use to infuse vision. Please understand, infuse vision, speech, language, and the knowledge capabilities into the applications, websites, and the bots, robots you have heard of. So when you have data about the vision, the speech, and the language, and the whole knowledge which you gather, the Microsoft Cognitive Services is able to infuse them all into one. So we don't have to now worry about it. In case we want certain ideas or things to be integrated, the platform is available. The second, the part of the AI platform is which allows developers to compose intelligent applications. So if you want, suppose you want to manage your dog at your house, and you want an intelligent system that when the dog starts making a different type of a movement, you would ring a bell and somebody should take him out for the normal excretion outside the house. So there can be an artificial way of trying to understand his behavior, and that behavior can be, intelligent system can be developed. Similarly, the security and the compliances, these are requirements of organizations. These can be very easily done. Now, the different APIs which you have application interface that they are emotion API. So they can capture your emotions, whether you're happy delivering your lecture or you're not happy delivering a lecture. So a principal can catch a teacher that tomorrow or yesterday you were doing this and your expressions were of a different type. The student should not get scared by looking at the teacher. and which is normally the case. Let me tell you, we teachers have not learned to be loving in the class, and now let the artificial intelligence solve this particular problem. So if you are not loving your children in the class, the children has the right to reject you. So accept this rejection as well. This will happen. There is going to be a lot of, I would say, individualized way of working for the student. Say, I will tell you a story. A class 6 student, forget about university student and college student. Class 6 student says, Papa, मैंने class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've seen all the syllabi, and almost every same thing is being taught for till class 10. What is this? Why should I read it every time? Teach me only once. Now, what is the answer? Therefore, there has to be a progression shown to the child so that his learning interest remains in the subject, and the teacher therefore will become effective. Otherwise, the game is lost, and there are so many lost students because of lost teachers. So the Microsoft Cognitive Services has Emotion API, Computer Vision API. It also has Language Understanding System, and then Speech Recognition System API. So all these can be integrated by using this card. Now, whosoever needs whatever, this is available now. Next, just to be brief, I would be speaking maybe a little faster. Then Amazon Alexa, that system that you have heard of. This allows development to build conversational interface. So you can converse. Hey Alexa, play this music. Hey Alexa, please do this. How much is salt required for this much of a vegetable? It gives you the answer. What is the temperature today? Is there a rainfall in Andhra Pradesh today? All that answer is available, and it takes this. So conversation is being done. Alexa also provides advanced deep learning variables, capabilities like automobile speech recognition. Automatic speech recognition. It automatically, when you're talking, your mobile catches that today you were thinking about buying a wooden furniture. Tomorrow you will see your Facebook shows wooden furniture details. So it catches the speech that you have, and then it also works. Language processing, natural language processing system is already there. So it is a managed service. So it's a service which can manage your requirements according to your thing. It will come on your screen saying that this medicine is required for you, because you were discussing that you had high blood pressure with the doctor. The mobile catches it, and somebody prescribes this medicine. What a good system. So things are happening, and with the service in the voice and the text methods, you also can publish now on the mobile devices. There are services like Slack, Facebook Messenger, and Twilio SMS. These are recognized publications of your contributions. So that is another area which you can have. Amazon has also integrated this Lex and the AWS Lambda, then AWS Mobile Hub, and then Amazon CloudWatch. All these integration. IoT is another area of technology which is coming in a big way, and it is being utilized for all other technologies. So that's second technology which is available. The third is the TensorFlow. See, I am able to tell you because I am part of that particular group. And this is also available everywhere on the net. So the information, there is no issue. It can be taken from anybody. Now, TensorFlow is from Google. Way back in 2015, they began with this. It's an open space source machine learning platform where you can possibly do the things which you never thought about. Deep learning. Now, what is deep learning? Deep learning recognizes the impacts at the molecular level, atomic level, subatomic level. So it is the learning or it is the behavioral pattern observation of a system at the minutest level. That's deep learning. So artificial intelligence combined with deep learning gives you all that you want to learn about that particular system. Suppose you have a system that you introduce, or a sensor you put it in your stomach. It will scan everything, large intestine, small intestine, liver, kidney, and then give the message that this is functioning fine, this is 20%, there is a problem, this problem, that problem. The message goes to the doctor. Doctor says, please, Dr. Jha, come and take these medicines from tomorrow. Otherwise, your life is in danger. So this is artificial intelligence, which is going to come. In fact, earlier we used to call this information technology. Now the branches have been compartmentalized. So Google TensorFlow is another ideal solution for developers who want to make this AI platform. They can even lift heavy workload and make AI projects from scratch. Suppose you have large data, large volume of data, and that can be combined in a project, and the TensorFlow is able to do. What is tensor? Like the scalar is also a tensor of order 0, vector is also a tensor of order 1, and the tensor has other dimensions and it can have infinite dimensions. Let me tell you, the Einstein was only working on dimension 26. And now the computer is able to handle dimensions to the order of 260 already. The moment from the classical computers, if you move to quantum computers, my goodness, the things which were taking 15 years of time to solve, it will be solved in seconds. That's the type of technology which is for future. So all that we as teachers will have to be aware of is to open our eyes and ears, be aware of what is happening all around. Now another giant, which is IBM, has given IBM Watson. This is one of the best AI engines. Now, this is very important. Just 1 minute more, I'll stop. The best AI engine, which because of Watson, and it comes powered by the modern innovation, and which is so-called the machine learning, to allow the models to learn more with less data. So you can have a model of learning. You may not have large data, but less data, but the IBM Watson machine is able to learn more with less data. Such a good thing. So which means even if you have small data about your physical health, your machine is able to tell you artificially intelligently that this is the disease that you may face tomorrow, or this is the danger situation. What makes, again, IBM Watson unique is its ability to learn from small data, which is one. Then the quality of data is more important than the quantity of data. IBM Watson also has several enterprise grades services like applications and tooling. This has the Watson Assistant, like the Google Assistant, the Siri, Alexa, then you have Watson Studio, you have an AI open scale, Watson Discovery, natural language processing, understanding, Discovery News, Knowledge Studio, then language translators, translator classifiers, then personality insights, then tone analyzers, then visual recognitions, speech to text and text to speech. My goodness. So our scientists have already done almost everything. Now we as educationists will have to pick up as to what we want. MIT has still not really, I cannot claim that MIT University has picked up all AI systems. No, it is still under experimental stage, and there are faculty members who are researching on these areas, and we hope that once the new education policy is implemented, where multidisciplinary approach is a requirement, where at any point of time your results are online and ad system is coming in, you don't have to verify who is the individual from where you are recruiting. Everything is available online, available. You just pick the CV, or CV comes, you can verify it. So there are lots of advantages which are coming in, and not any university can claim today that we are artificially intelligent already. No, we are in the process of implementing it, and we hope that we'll be faster than many. That is what I can say. Thank you very much.
So we would like to wish you all the best in that journey, sir. And then some of the really good points that you had actually mentioned in, I would like to add something on the other front. To Dr. Lakshmi Rao, who is the academic director and writer of the Academic Research. So basically, ma'am, since you are the heading department, I would like to ask you the similar question. We were all very, very worried before the pandemic began. The screen time that the student has, and specifically the kind of content that students can have the access to. Because there are a lot of content. We all agree that there is an abundance. There is no scarcity of content on internet. But how do actually we choose the correct one? And how do you think artificial intelligence will help the student, will help the school, will help the teachers in choosing the quality content? How can a student have the access to quality content using artificial intelligence? If you can throw some light on
Okay.
that.
Right, right. I know. In fact, if I have to talk about AI in front of Dr. Raman, it's like, speaking about trekking expedition in front of Tenzing Norgay and Hillary Clinton. That's how it is. Edmund Hillary's, to be frank. Yeah, because we are just in the beginning of our understanding of AI as schools. So obviously, it's really a challenging job to talk about the way AI helps the education institutions to get the right content. Okay, now see, I always feel that yes, with the click of a mouse, that all the children are able to really get lot of content, because knowledge is available and content is available everywhere. So probably, this is of my understanding, I'm just talking about, probably AI intervention would definitely bring in the right content for the right child at the age appropriate content, and then it would be filtering the excess content which is not relevant to it, relevant to the child. And that's how I think the educational institutions would be able to get the help from AI. And as he rightly spoke about, Siri can help us out and Alexa can help us out, and there are various other applications which are available, like these applications would help us out in asking for the required content. And of course, the required content, when it is there, it's a synthesizing skills have to be really developed among the children. So then the child would be able to really pick up the right content. This is what I'm thinking. But at the same time, no, let me be honest in talking about it. It is too superficial and it is too theoretical from a school's point of view to talk about AI at this point of time, because we are not exactly practicing it. So as a practitioner, we would be able to speak much about it, rather than the people who are just doing a little bit of a research, and then who are just in the beginning of the thing. So we just started bringing in the augmented reality in the classes to inform and engage the children more effectively, and to make the classroom more interesting and all. So beyond that, and then we are also using AI for grading system, because we thought that is too a difficult task for the teachers and all. In other aspects, definitely the schools have to work, and then teacher AI collaboration. I always feel that teacher AI collaboration would always help the students browse through the content properly, and then I think AI would intervene in such situation, and where the child will be able to really get age appropriate content and level appropriate content, and age appropriate vocabulary would be there. And then, as I told earlier, probably it would be helping the child to get a simplified content, so that the comprehension level of the child would be increased. This is my understanding of that.
Anyone else who would like to add on the point, how we actually, it would be good if we can have.
Yeah, may I interrupt? May I? Like, as ma'am said, Lakshmi ma'am said, Dr. Raman has spoken enough in the field of AI, in the field of various fields, not just education. He has spoken about in various fields. And one of the significant features that he said, the speech to text and text to speech, that was a boon for all of us teachers last year. Prior to COVID, we do have a few PPTs, not PPTs for all the topics. We used to have very few PPTs. Once in a while, we'll take them to the AV room, we'll show them the difficult topics, the three-dimensional concepts, definitely we use that. But in the pandemic, we're forced to create PPTs for all the topics. For that particular AI was a very great use. We just have to speak. It will literally take our voice and get converted into the PPT format. That was really good. And presentation translator, that was also very good for the children.
Right.
Children are unable to get us in the class, so are unable to go with the pace of the class. They can use as presentation translator, where they get the subtitles. As a teacher speaks, they get the subtitles if they need it. If the child needs, they can be used. So that was a real boon for all of us. Last year we were all like toddlers. So right now we are in the education informatization, where it is a mixture of combination of traditional and online teaching. So we were all toddlers. So now we have slowly equipping ourselves towards AI. Thank you so much, Dr. Raman. We came to know a lot of things and the
Lot
applications in
of
the field.
things. Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you.
really
Thank you.
great.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Lot of things.
So, thank you so much for that particular input, ma'am. And it's really important that we focus on the quality of the content. It is really important that we check what content that a student particularly is going through. And the other aspects immediately as we go ahead and speak that a teacher plus AI is the way forward. We have all agreed on it, and we really agree on it since long time. Whenever we talk about the education technology and implementation of it in the schools. Uh, Moving on, the other aspect is the teacher training. One of the major factor that comes in. And I would now like to ask Mr. PJ Gupta, sir, how are you training your teachers with this? I mean, difficult and challenging times of Corona. How are you making sure that the teachers are also on board and trained so that they can have a better implementation of education? And since you are the major part of the school segment is the early childhood space, how how difficult or how easy or what are the steps that you're taking for the implementation of teacher training in especially with the respect of our students? Yes.
As Rachna ma'am has said, our teachers were toddlers last year, but now they have upgraded to KG and UKG. So yes, last year was very difficult in training them. In fact, most of the people were saying that online classes are not that useful. Students can't sit on computers, especially the toddlers, can't sit on computers for a longer time, maybe 1 year, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 45 minutes. But when we analyze the entire year in 2021, we analyzed 2020. What we realized as an organization that technically our teachers were not able to engage the student. Yes, things were difficult, things were different because physically you're not getting a student to know about him or her. And moreover, bad part was that like those students which came for the first time in school, suddenly they became seniors. They have not seen the teacher's face. Just think of it, and 20,
Very
24
true.
months, and when he has not seen the school, he just looking the teacher in front of screen. So for me, it is a hilarious part too, because same thing happened with many other students. My like two kids in our family, when they first attended the class, they thought, oh, this is the school for which I was being doing so many rounds of the school, and for which the fees has been paid to me. For all the kids now, the school is the screen of 45-50 minute time. So coming back to the point, so we thought like our teachers are not that well equipped to handle the teacher, student in the class. Lot of interference from the parent side also. Parents are very curious how schools are going to handle, and don't take my word otherwise. Many parents are here. They expect a lot from the school when it comes to schooling, and in terms of toddlers, we need to be little. We need to give patience for at least 3-4 months. For example, if a parent is coming to us, first week they keep asking, "Sir, when my child is going to write, when my child is going to talk in English." 3 hours in a day, 5 days in a week, which means a week for us. 15 hours the child is spent with us. Out of that 15 hours, 2-3 hours is meant for their lunch, for their snacks, all those things. Hardly 8 to 10 hours teachers got with the child. Even not one full day he has spent with us. In terms of online teaching, this has become more worse because time spent was zero physically, only the screen time was there. So when the situation became grave, we thought of changing the entire scenario. Then what we thought of to do the sessions one by one with every parent, at least for once in a week, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just understand the child, understand the parent psychology, what's the expectation. So we changed the entire formula rather than going with the class formula. First we done individual grooming of the parent and the student. Second step we have taken was problem with the assessment part, or typically India में बोलते हैं कि copy checking, which is an important part for us. Yes, assessment was lacking, so we built some of the tools and used some of the ready-made tools, and with that we integrated the worksheet part also, so that worksheet can be validated by the teachers. And teacher was asked to at least share the thought on the worksheet which is coming from the student side. Third grooming part was the writing part. Now it's very difficult how to do the writing part of a 2-year child. Even in fact, how to ensure a child is writing or not. So again, writing tests have been brought up, writing instruments have been kept up, and during the entire pandemic, we didn't stop on sending the new things or the physical material to the child. Parents were not able to collect the books. We have couriered them. Even from Delhi, we have couriered to Pondicherry also. So that at least once the parents have the writing material or the physical material with them, it is easy for them to understand the concept and go with this. Fourth part, as a company, we realize that even we have not groomed the teacher, so we have done the train the trainer part. Almost 3 months we have done the teachers training, how to bring the online class, how to do the lectures, what your background should be, what kind of noise should be there, what kind of voice modulation would be there. These small things definitely affect the class a lot. If the teacher is not dressed properly, how can you expect a student to come and dress properly? Teachers even having their breakfast initially at earlier days, or having a tea at initial days, or having, because again they were not groomed for that kind of scenario, that atmosphere. So of course those scenarios have been brought up, and I think this year 2021 being doing fantastic. 70-80% parents are now settled. Now some parents expecting to go to online schooling when the physical school open, because some parents are finding it easy. I'm not saying 100%, but 5-10 parents are finding it easy. So again, we need to come up with some hybrid kind of solution where at least once in a week, twice in a week, we can involve them, and rest 5 days can go for the regular. Thank you.
Very well said. In fact, we would like to touch upon this topic also moving ahead. Uh, Now, I would like to bring in Mr. Jaspreet Singh to give a completely different perspective. And, sir, we would definitely like to have your opinion, especially on how financial, what is the model of operations, especially with the financial, with respect to the technology. We have known that you're working with more than 1,700 institutions across the country with such a tremendous growth within few years of incorporation. I think that is a commendable one. We would like to know more about it, especially all the educators, and if we have to implement it, just please, then you all can please reach out to him. For some of the technology that financier is helping in. So, just please tell us the model of operations, with the financial. So you're on mute.
Sandeepji, thank you so much for introducing finance parents with such kind words. I think the fact that we have reached from zero institute associations to 7,500 plus institutes associations in a span of just 4 years speaks about the fact that what we're doing is we're trying to solve a problem which almost every institute, and I'm not talking about school, I'm talking about educational institute, be it a school, be it a nursery, a kindergarten school, graduation, post graduation, even to the likes of Byju's and Akash and online learning institutes, they're associated with us. The finance sphere, it began as a idea of making education accessible to people across the country 4 years back by a group of IIT IIM alumni, which are our co-founders today. Uh, what we basically trying to do is to ensure that we reach out to institutes and help them in their in financial management of those institutions. What do I mean by that? We are a Google incubated organization, and what we offer to the institutes is 100. So for every student that pays fees through us, we go out and provide the institute 100% fee payment of that child, of that parent, upfront to that educational institute. Due to our services, we have seen 30% uptake in the admissions that are happening. We also provide, Sandeep ji, so that's the school part of what we are doing. What we are also bringing in the fact that the parent who's paying the fees through us has to pay zero interest fee, zero processing fee, but he or she gets an opportunity to pay the same amount of fee in multiple installments. So, for example, if the parent is paying a fee in 4 installments today, he or she can pay the same fee in installments up to 12 months, while the educational institute gets the installments upfront, 100% installment upfront. Right? So, we are providing financial modeling in education space in such a way that it's a win-win for both the educational institutions as well as the parents. Right? And what we're also trying to create is an ecosystem of learning where we are also providing uh, up to 10% and rewards and cashbacks to the parents, to the parents who are paying fees through us. We have free education insurance, which means that if in case there is the primary bread earner of the family, something happens to him or her, the child gets free education insurance for up to 5 years. So and all of these things have seen a 30% increment in the admission cycle. So that's where we are at in terms of the associations. Sandeepji, I can tell you that we have institutions with us whose yearly monthly fees is less than 10,000 to institutions whose monthly fees is above 20-30,000. So we have all spectrum of institutions associated with us because they feel the pressure, specifically in the COVID times. I see that happening myself. So that's where we are at. We also provide learning management systems. ERP solutions is with us, which is a free of cost ERP learning solutions, because we're talking about accessing educations and ensuring that the process of education is smooth. And that's where we are at, Sandeep, in terms of finance peer.
And that speaks multifold, and that is that you know uh, that we have seen finance sphere grow. More than 7,500 odd education institutions on board, uh, helping it out. I would also like to ask you that, especially with in terms of technology, that you have already told that that you're not charging anything from the ERP and LMS systems. Uh, what other technologies do you have, and how are you implementing, the artificial intelligence in the education? How are you helping the education? So that anyone who's listening to
So,
this broadcast can actually reach out to you and can get in touch with you to get help.
So from a technology perspective, Sandeepji, as I told in my first part of my conversation, that use cases where the learning management system, for example, if we find out that yeah, a student to teacher ratio is skewed, then the AI in our technology suggests intervention from the administration and asks the processes to be realigned so that the ratio is. There are multiple such use cases that we have. I think if somebody from the panelists wants to speak to us, and I'm more than available and happy to speak about those use cases. That's one area. Another area, which is a more internal area where we have applied AI, is where we say that if a parent who wishes to join us has has all the documents ready, and we don't ask for a lot of documentation. We ask just a couple of documents, basic Aadhaar card and PAN card. If they have that ready, the whole process of application and disbursals, in the sense of application getting approved, is within 24 hours. That's how fast it is. And if the payments is below a certain number, that whole process is reduced to 15-20 minutes. So that's how the AI is implemented in our internal ecosystem. But in terms of technology facing the customer side, we spoke about ERP and LMS.
That's such a wonderful gesture, sir. And in fact, the last week when we were speaking to Mr. Rame, so I think there is a policy that you're giving away 100% acceptance, if I'm not wrong. If you can correct me,
Yeah,
there, on
yeah.
especially during the COVID times. So that way, especially with the financial intervention, finance bill is doing a tremendous work. Going back, sir, especially, I would like to ask, an open question to all the panelists out there. Please feel free
Uh,
to.
Sandeepji, before you ask one question, I'm sorry I'm interrupting. I think I need to highlight this
So,
one thing part. because
Sure.
it's important to understand how we are impacting education. In one of the southern regions, there was this rickshaw puller whose child we supported in terms of education to an institute which he could never have thought with his earnings and with his current occupation. And we have stories galore of such underprivileged, uh, you know, people from the underprivileged strata of the society who have been helped by us. I think that's something that I wanted to kind of bring out in the discussion here. Sorry, apologies to have
No,
interrupted.
no, please, sir, that was such a wonderful thing. I just want to ask one question to all the panelists. Now we are in the age where we are no longer bound by, the geographies of we we are no longer have any kind of a restriction in terms of a student intake. From Bihar can unfortunately take an admission but from school in Delhi because the classes are going online. Uh, so one of the major factors that we want to discuss is uh, now since there is no foundation, the artificial intelligence can actually help a lot of students. The last mile students can be approached on to what is the future of education. I just wanted to ask this with AI as a perspective because we keep on talking about future of education with a lot of possibilities, with a lot of other directions that we are taking about. I'm not talking about careers. I'm talking about a society which would be educated throughout without any restrictions, without any
Yeah.
limitation. So how we can go ahead? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. No, see, because of AI, AI will bring in the global classroom to everyone. So a child who's in, India can just learn from US classes. They can learn anything from anywhere. That's one thing, which is, which is the advantage of AI. And this is actually, I can give you one example. In our own country, also it has happened. All of a sudden, my once this thing center pre-primary center head and all the teachers, they have resigned, and then next day we are supposed to have a class. And at that point of time, we just merged all the that center. I'm not going to talk about that center, but all the children of the outstation center were merged with my Hyderabad center, just with overnight, within 1 hour we could do it. And that's how AI will bring the global classrooms, and the child can participate remotely in the collaborative activities and even in the global projects. And see, for design for change and all, which was restricted only within the country, can be done across the country, across the world. And then earlier we used to have face to face programs and all, the virtual and video conferences we used to have and all. That becomes a new normal now, because having a program with face to face to face and all, it used to be very rare one. And British council activities also used to be very rare one. Now they become very, very normal. So that is the future. So now we need not have to get worried where we are sitting and in which country that we are staying and all. We will be able to learn globally, and then it has become, the whole world has become like a small village. And the child's vision would be widened, because the child will not learn only about Indian geography. The child would be able to learn about the other countries' geography also. Because all these days what is happening in our country is the knowledge is getting restricted, but now it will not happen. I think that is the advantage of AI, and that is the future of education. That's what I feel.
Anyone else who would like to add?
Yeah,
add on
same.
it?
I would like to continue with
same, yes.
what ma'am said. Making global classroom possible is something very important. And as we are having online teaching, the children are not engaged throughout the day as otherwise.
Yes.
Unlike they need to miss the whole day of the school, so children, they have some plenty of time within hands, which they're using after school hours to study whatever they like. So they've already started doing it, and they are actually going into the career path. What sir was saying, they are able to choose their subjects they're really interested other than the curriculum. So they're able to do after school classes. They're able to. The other important feature which again helped us is the remote proctoring. So if we conduct exams, we are not sure what the children are doing on the other side, but with the help of the AI remote proctoring, we are able to monitor the children's performance. That's again a very important aspect of AI in the field of education, I suppose.
Could I add one more thing to it? It is, I think, it is just about more differentiated, more individualized, and more personalized. And the content has been more tailored now. I feel, initially, because our school has been following AI for other things, like whatever most of you have said, like attendance and coming to school, entering the gate, or other things, for all these things, for everyday attendance and all. So a lot of administrative time was saved for the teachers even prior to this COVID. But then, as of now, I feel, earlier we had this, we were depending more upon somebody who was outsourcing the content to us. My teachers were not engaged in looking out for it and creating it themselves. AI has helped it now with this online system. We were depending on certain other people who were actually tailoring it for us. They were preparing everything and giving it to us in a platter, and my teachers were running it over a smart board, and that's how the classes were going on, starting from pre-nursery to grade 12. But now, my teachers, with the help of AI, they have themselves learned to tailor the content on their own and provide it to the teachers. And I feel the future also is similar to this, in which it is going to be a hand-to-hand coordination of AI along with human beings. That's how it is going to move ahead in education, and that's how we're going to provide it to our children. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Please, Raman sir.
The last word which I just wanted to add was, there is a possibility that every child will have a personalized robot with him.
Yes.
And that personalized robot will guide the student whether you have understood the context of this thing that you have read, or you understood the practical that you have just performed. These are the feedback that the robot will give to the student, and the student will therefore keep learning and mutually interacting with the robot. There is going to be another robot which is going to be personalized for the teachers.
Yes.
Where that robot is going to advise the teacher as to change this particular content in the text. These are the new things which have been added. Please add this. Your classes have not been taken positively by the student, or they have all appreciated your class. These feedback will again go to the teacher also. So it's going to be a very, very close-knit world, but everyone connected with each other. Now, if you think of a global classroom, which Madam Rao said just now, the global classroom may have students interacting across the globe. So they are all students of a class will interact and share his viewpoint on a particular topic. So everybody would understand who is understanding what, or what is the real feedback from across the globe. So the full picture is going to be clear for every learner. And that's the beauty of AI, which can possibly come with as early as possible. Thank you.
DJ sir, would you like to add something on it, sir? Especially with the, so since this panel has early childhood education to PG, everything getting covered, from CBSE to international board, all being there on one single panel, this becomes a very unique panel, sir. So with respect to the early childhood education sector, we know that the times are difficult, especially for this sector. The K-12 segment has still taken a step forward. What do you think is the future of education with AI, especially children?
As Raman sir has said, yes, there would be a day when a robot would be sitting with a child, and positives are there, but I see the negative effect also. How they are going to respond and what brain mapping or what need to be. I'll take the reverse aspect. What need to be taught emotionally and what need to be taught with AI. That we as a parent, we as an educator need to decide. 3 years back, I went to Korea, and amazed for me for a new thing. Amazed to see, like in Korea we have robots. When you drop, when you just comes out on the airport, they are going to help you out till the exit process. They will go with you. They will tell you which gate to exit. They will tell you which way to move, which train to take to come on the upper floor, and they have everything indicated with them. You put up the command, they'll tell you the city route, the Google Maps, all those things. They will give you prints also. So they have all the system within there. So we were three members, and we were discussing if they come to India, especially maybe Delhi or especially maybe to any city, what will happen to them? Nobody knows. So again, it is very important how to use that AI perfectly. That was Korea. I'm not saying we are lagging behind, but again, we as an educator need to train our students and our teachers also how to use that tool effectively. You have a Mercedes, but when to take it out and when not to take it out, that we need to decide. Oh, there's a traffic, so I can take my Centro. But yes, if there's good weather, open roads, like the lockdown thing, you can take a Mercedes also, or maybe you can take a sports car also. So, using AI effectively, on time, on roll, on setting up a thing, I think that can only serve the purpose. Otherwise, only if you say AI chatbot, everybody is using. But I see half of the chatbot completely wasted. If you go to particular website, some of the shopping website, the chatbot is not doing anything. It is there installed there, but he will say, "Okay, I'll connect you to the member." They are not answering any question. While some of the companies using their chatbot perfectly. If that chatbot is only an integration of making a call, then there is no use of putting up a chatbot. So again, coming to that point, use AI effectively can sort out the problem.
Your views on the questions. How do you think where we are headed with the education sector? Sir, I think you're on mute.
I think there is nothing that I can add to what has been said. I have one observation from an outsider point of view. 2020 versus 2021, we were at a stage where technology and education was a distant dream. And 2021 is when we have figured out that technology is a stepping stone and is a bare minimum that we were asking for growth, right? So I think AI will. There are a lot of use cases which are unexplored, which we're not even thinking and talking about. The good part is that as entrepreneurs, as education providers, there is a lot of conversation on AI that is happening in the ecosystem, and as and when things move ahead, AI will definitely grow in the education system. That's my take on it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think it is safe to say that we have surpassed Industrial Revolution 4.0 with the education space and directly jumped onto Industrial Revolution 5.0 with AI as a perspective uh, coming together. And with this, it draws the conclusion towards this amazing session. I think I would like to thank all the panelists, right from Dr. Chandri ma'am, Kanchana Mala ma'am, Dr. Raman Kumar, Dr. Lakshmi Rao, Mr. PJ Gupta, and Mr. Jaspreet sir, for joining us, for sharing your thoughts on the artificial intelligence. We spoke on really, really good terms, really, really wide terms on what kind of platforms that are available to how global classrooms are not going to get big impact in the education space, how specialized education can be catered with artificial intelligence. And I believe that this had been such an informative session for all the viewers, for all the people who have been involved in the panel discussion, and this would create a really, really high impact. Kudos to all the kudos to all the speakers who have thrown some amazing light on this particular amazing session on the Talking Education series by Universal Mental Association, which was powered by Finance. Thank you so much to all the panelists. And we will be back next week with another interesting topic with a few new educators joining us on board with a completely different perspective on education. Thank you so much, and we pray for your safety in this difficult time. Stay home, stay safe, step out only when it's necessary, and be an educator. Always be an educator. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given. It was great learning, especially from Professor Raman. We would like to. Yeah.
Always welcome, madam. Always welcome.
Thank you so much.
Since
Thank you
we
for the
are
opportunity.
Thank you.
WhatsApp group, please keep on interacting. The interaction should not stop here. You can all have, if you need an access to financial services, Jaspreet ji is also there on the WhatsApp group. Feel free to reach out to me as well. Jaspreet sir, I'd like you to please share your details so that the audience could reach out to you on the particular chat box so that we can post it on our YouTube as well as our Facebook. Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful session. God bless
Thank
all
you
of
very
you.
much.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you so much. Bye.